podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Susie's bike came to an abrupt halt, the tyres skidding slightly over the loose sands blown across the empty road by the morning's gentle breeze. She scanned the horizon intently. As a scout, it was her job to be the eyes and ears of the convoy, to warn of the dangers ahead. Blocking the road was the hulking husk of a big rig, its remains still smouldering from what had undoubtedly been a raging inferno, hot enough to melt metal in parts. The vehicle was too damaged to yield anything which could be salvaged, she thought with dismay. Her salvo convoy was beginning to run low on parts. She unshouldered her rifle as a familiar unease settled over her, and her senses sharpened, eyes warily checking for movement among the playful wisps of smoke, her ears trying to ignore the faint crackle of the little fire still burning, and the pings of metal slowly cooling down. There were no bodies to be seen, her heart pounding in her chest now. All the sounds pointed to one thing which chilled her to her core. They were in Reaper territory now. She had to warn the others.
Sound familiar to you? It didn't to me either. Well, actually, I've heard it twice now. But this is the story of gameplay of a new game on Kickstarter called Wreck and Ruin, and we're lucky enough to have Mark Mckinnon back on the podcast. Well, you probably never heard him on my podcast because we ended up having some audio issues. So this is the second time he's graciously decided to join us so we could make sure this goes on the podcast. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
No problem, thanks for having me again.
No problem. Especially with the time difference and whatnot. We made Mark get out of bed really early so he could join us. And yeah, we wanted to thank you. So you have a new game on Kickstarter, or you will by the time we air this. What can you tell us about it, Mark?
So Wreck and Ruin is set in a post-apocalyptic world where everything that we kind of value is gone. So there's no more towns, cities. The world is just a wasteland, and from that environment there's 4 rival factions which have appeared, and they drive about in the wasteland in heavily armed and armoured convoys, looking for salvage that they can basically use to either improve their lives or trade for food and supplies. So things get quite heated out in the wasteland. Cool
beans. Let's see here. And yeah, what I really loved about it when I looked at it before is there's some awesome miniatures for this.
Yeah, so the game works with, you start off with a convoy of 5 vehicles, so it's split into 4 different categories. You have your small scouts, you've got 2 of them, which are the fastest vehicles, but they're quite easy to destroy, and they're not very well, their attack isn't very strong. But then you go from there up to the buggies, which are a bit of kind of jack of all trades, and they can move reasonably, they're reasonably armed and armoured, but they're the only vehicle that can repair other vehicles. Next up you have the Wrecker, and it's his job basically to make everyone else's day a nightmare. So he's the toughest one, and his job is basically to push everything to cause maximum damage. And then finally you have your big rig, which is your kind of command centre, if you like, and he's slow, but he's got the strongest attack, he can soak up the most damage, and he can fire in a 360 degree arc, so it takes him a while to get somewhere, but when he's there he's pretty much king of the hill. So yeah, you use the 5 vehicles, and the game works on an action point system, so you have 5 actions to use per turn. So moving, shooting, or ramming, they're all your kind of basic actions. And so with the 5 actions, you can only use so many vehicles per turn. So you can't do everything that you want to do. You have to kind of decide what's the best move for you to make.
So yeah, that sounds like a pretty cool game. Let's see. So yeah, it sounds like you everybody gets 5 vehicles. It looks like.
That's right, yeah. Everyone has 5 of the same.
And then is there an actual board or is it a tile based or how's that work?
So you create your own map using modular tiles. They're both double-sided, so basically you can create a different map every time you want to play. The only thing that you have that's kind of necessary is you have a setup tile. So depending on how many players you have, that determines how many of them you use. But apart from that, you can literally make, you join the tiles together into a kind of larger hex shape, so that you've got a different battlefield every time you want to go, and it changes how you approach the situation. And
Cool. And it looks like there's cards and dice. So what kind of mechanics does this use?
so what happens is you have your action points to spend. Um, Movement is as simple as, like, a scout, for instance. A scout is a move of 8, so that is 8 hexes in the direction it's facing. Or every time that you want to turn one of the hex faces, that costs you 1 of your movement. So that's movement. It's pretty straightforward. Um, each vehicle has an attack stat, and that's how many dice that you would roll if you want to shoot somebody. So everything's done in a 3 hex range for attacking. So as long as you can get close enough to someone, you can spend an action point to make an attack. So for instance, Big Rig has an attack of 3, which would mean you would roll 3 dice. If you were shooting at a scout has an armor of 3. So what that basically means is every roll of 3 or more is going to do damage to that bike. So something like a Big Rig has got the 3 attacks, is more likely to destroy it in 1 turn. Whereas a scout would only roll 1 die because that's his attack. So, he can kind of whittle down damage, but he can't inflict, he can't destroy anything right from the get-go like the Big Rig can.
Okay, and if I remember right, when we were talking last time, there's these cool markers on the top of the vehicles, the miniatures, where you put the damage that they get. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's probably one of my favourite bits of the game. That was the thing that I wanted right from the start. So rather than have a player board that you kind of recorded damage or something like that, I wanted to basically be able to see it on the table. So yeah, each vehicle has a number of peg holes which corresponds to how much damage it can take. So you shoot at the scout, you do 1 damage, you put a little flame peg in it, so you can immediately look across the table and you can see, right, he's on fire, because they look like flames. So you're like, right, he's nearly done. And a scout can only take 2 damage. So what happens is, if you shoot him again and damage him more, you then the last peg hole is reserved for a black peg, which basically shows that the vehicle's completely wrecked. So you put the black peg in, and then what happens is the vehicle kind of temporarily loses control. So I use a mechanic called crash and burn, which basically you roll a die and you compare it on a table, which shows you which direction the vehicle is going to go. So it kind of, after you destroy it, it kind of goes off like a fireball in a set direction, and can basically cause more damage. So, there's a bit of danger if you have all your vehicles too close together, that, one of them in the middle blows up and then just swerves into the other and causes even more damage.
Well, that's really cool. I don't recall you talking about that last time, so I'm glad we had you back on. That's awesome. So yeah, I really like that. So let's see here. So you said you're doing a convoy, and it sounds like you're battling too. So let's say me and you sat down to the table to play this game. How would play look? Well, I mean, where this is a podcast after all. How would it listen, or how would the turns look?
So what would happen is we'd start off across from each other. So if you've got the 7 hexes, basically I'm on one tile, you're on the furthest away point, and in the middle there are 4 salvage sites, and that's ultimately what we're fighting for. Whoever has the most of them at the end of the game is the winner. So what would happen is, on my turn, I would spend my action points to move on to these points to try and occupy them. And then what happens is, at the start of your turn, they start off on the red side, and as it goes on to your turn, I basically flip all the occupied ones onto green. Now, what green means is that they're ready to score, and as long as I can survive through your turn without receiving any damage on those vehicles, I'll get the points at the end of your turn. So there's a real kind of pressure on you to do something about that. Now, you could ignore them. There's 4 of these on the map, so you could ignore the ones that I'm on and just chase after your own. But there's a chance then that I'm going to start getting a points lead. And then, you need to make sure that you can keep up with it. So, yeah, you're trying to juggle between stopping me from getting points, but also gaining your own points as well.
Okay. So it sounds kind of like what is it? I don't remember what it's called. Is it like kind of like a land management as well as a take that kind of?
So I call it area control, resource management, vehicular violence. That's my 3 kind of. If I'm describing a game, that's the 3 terms that I would use.
Okay, there you go. That's what I meant. The area management or whatnot. That's what I meant. I really like the last one. The vehicular, or let's see, vehicle. Yeah, I can't even say it. That's not good.
It chips me up as well, don't worry about it.
Well, there you go. But you got a cooler accent to make up for that, so that's really good. I'm not sure what happens. Like maybe people over there enjoy the English accent because I just found out that we've actually went up in listenership over there in the UK from 2% to 3%.
Yeah, you're getting there. Just keep on trucking.
Yes, sir. So we'll have to see how that goes. Because actually, I that makes me wonder what my ranking was. Because I don't know if you saw, but a while back ago, we were actually number 9 over there in the UK when we only had the 2%, and we actually beat out the Dice Tower for a moment.
Yeah, if anyone that can do that, you're doing something right. So
Yeah, so I'll have to keep going. I'll take my 15 minutes of fame right now, but I'll keep trucking along like you said. So that's awesome. Yeah, so do you have a favorite miniature out of the ones that are for your game?
so I'd say my favourite has to be the Wrecker because he's got quite an onboard presence. So what happens is if you could imagine like I don't know what you have over there, but a Land Rover, like a Range Rover. So,
Okay, yeah, yeah.
so
We've had some of them, not as prevalent or whatnot, but
yeah, so a big kind of um, 4x4. If you imagine that they took away all the windows, stuck some nice metal grates on the top, took away the windscreen, and then put a large log through the windscreen so it stuck out the front of the car, and then welded a giant metal skull onto the end of it that was purely to bash in other cars. That pretty much
cool.
sums up the Wrecker. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
really like that battering ram. That's pretty cool on there with the skull.
yeah. So he's got to be my favourite.
Cool. I'm gonna have to. Well, I like that one as well, but I think I like the big rig. And if I recall correctly, I want to say over on your either in one of the groups or probably your Facebook page, I want to say you painted them. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I started painting up. I've only got one set of my own now, so I've started painting it up just to make it look a little bit nicer because I want to, it's not until you start painting something I think that you appreciate the amount of detail that it has. So yeah, it kind of made me appreciate more the quality of the miniatures. I mean, I know I've done them, but it's nice just to see. You take notice more of just subtle touches, and yeah, so I really enjoyed the process.
Cool, cool for sure. Yeah, and so let's see here, and going back to the game a little bit. There's cards as well. How did those play in?
So what happens is there's 3 different kinds of cards. So what happens is at the start of the game, you would select one of the 4 factions, and they're designed to kind of suit different play styles. So if you're quite an aggressive player, you would go the Reaper faction, whereas you're more a kind of, if you want to just kind of survive, outlast the battle, if you like, you would go the Salvos faction. So what happens is that each faction has four faction powers, if you like, and you receive one of them at random at the start of the game, and they're free to use, but it's a kind of one use only, but they're quite powerful cards. So like the Reapers, like I said, they're aggressive, so all their cards are about destroying people. So they've got cards in there which allow them to instill fear in the enemy and making them take less actions. Or they can even try and hijack another vehicle that's on the board, so that they've got 5 and the other player's only got 3. And they're cards that are exclusive to the Reapers, whereas the Salvos, their cards are maybe like, they've got one which allows them to heal one damage from every vehicle that's on the board. So that's something that the other factions don't have. So you kind of pick a faction that you kind of suits your playstyle, but you're not guaranteed to get the power that you want. Next up we have salvage cards. So they're cards that you collect them when you collect the salvage sites. You also receive the salvage. That's kind of what you found in that area. So they're free to use, and they allow you to bend and break pretty much every rule in the game. So the normal restrictions on the game are that you can do 2 actions per vehicle, but they've got to be different actions. So you can move and you can shoot, but you can't move twice. Well, there's a card in there that allows you to do that. There's a card in there that allows you to shoot twice. There's a card in there that allows you to ignore normal targeting rules. So you can basically target anyone on the same tile as you, whereas normally you wouldn't be able to do that. And the final deck is the event deck. So what happens is, at the start of every round, the game's played over between 4 and 6 rounds, depending on how many players that you have. At the start of your round, player 1 draws an event card and reads out what it does. And this is a kind of overall, it affects the whole wasteland for that round. So you have something on there such as slippery surface. What that allows you to do is, it allows the player who's just had their turn to basically turn any 3 vehicles that's on the board to face any other direction. So all of a sudden, you're about to spend your action points, and you're about to trundle across to this salvage site and knock somebody off it, and then somebody goes, wait a minute, I'm going to use this slippery surface and I'm going to turn 3 of your vehicles around, so you're going back the way you came. So each turn, the event basically, although it comes out in player 1's turn, it affects the whole round, so each player in turn will get to do the action that's on that. And then another card will come out at the start of the next round, and so on and so on. So they're just little extra things in there which kind of force you to change how you deal with your tactical situation at any time.
Cool beans. So I'm told I suffer from analysis paralysis. Would there be a certain faction that will work better for me, or are people gonna hate me more by playing this game, as it might take me forever to figure out what I'm gonna do on my turn?
Well, what happens is each player receives a player guide, so it has on that all the vehicle stats. So it's just done like a table, so you can basically look across and say, right, Big Rig can move 4, he can attack with 3 dice, he has an armor of 4, and he can take 6 hits. So you've got that, and each vehicle across the factions, they have the same stats. So you can look at that. You don't need to know, right, the Reaper faction, they've got an arm, they've got the same armor as you. So you don't need to worry about analysis paralysis so much with it, because there's usually always an obvious choice. Your first kind of focus is, right, what's about to score? And then you think, right, am I close enough to attack them? So yes, I'll use an action to shoot them. If you're close enough to ram, you can basically ram them off it and get you onto it at the same time. So that's always your best option. But then, you'd think, right, if I'm not close enough, or maybe your attack fails, you have to get something else up to do it. So before you know it, you've ran out of actions, and I wouldn't say there's really much of an analysis paralysis situation because there's always loads for you to do, and it's always kind of, you always have your plan. Even, as it's come round to your turn, you kind of have an idea of what you're going to do anyway. The only thing that might change that is, like I said, the event card might kind of put a bit of a spanner in the works. Um, or you might have a salvage card which you've been holding on to, and all of a sudden you're like, do you know what? Now's the right time to use this. But I don't think you would have to worry about that. The turns actually go through quite quick.
Cool. Yeah, sounds like it. So it says 2 to 4 players. Is there a sweet spot? Does it work better with 2 or with 4? Or what do you think the sweet spot might be?
Um, it works good on all counts. With the two player, it becomes slightly more tactical because you're only dealing with one opponent, so it's a bit kind of slower to start off with. But with a four player, what happens is you're basically thrown right into it because all the factions have the ability from the start to reach the center tile with their faster vehicles. So player one on their turn, they start off, they're not near anything, so they just spend their first turn moving into the middle, and then player two goes, oh, he's in range now, so I think I'm just going to move in and attack him. And sometimes there's not even a tactical value to attacking somebody, but sometimes it just feels right and you just want to. So yeah, I'd say it works great on all counts. Because the modular tiles, the board setup changes where you start based on how many players you have, so it's always equal.
Okay.
And then the amount of turns reduces as your player count goes up, so that the game doesn't go on too long. I mean, you can always play up to 6 turns if you want for like a 4 player game, but I would say the sweet spot is more for rounds, I think, rather than players. So in a 2 player game, sweet spot is 6 rounds because you'll fly through the rounds in no time. Whereas a 4 player game, 4 rounds is good. You can decide to play up to 6 if you want, but 4 is a nice enough that you can play the game for long enough and leave you wanting more without overstaying its welcome.
Okay. Cool beans. So let's see here. So during your off time, when you're not running the Kickstarter or whatnot, do you actually work in a demolition derby, or where did you come up with the inspiration for this game?
It'd be quite cool to work in a demolition derby, I think. But the inspiration actually came from playing Fallout 4, it was, on the PlayStation. And it was kind of at a time in my life where I'd just kind of started getting back into board games. And I was quite focused on board games because I was looking to see what was out there. And yeah, I played too much Fallout. I must have eaten something strange one night, but I had some kind of weird dream. Um, and I woke up 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and just started furiously scribbling onto pieces of paper about this world, and I started writing, mechanics and stuff like that. And up to that point, it never crossed my mind to even try and make a game. Just kind of, it's a bit cliche, but it found me rather than I found it.
Well, there you go. So I bet people are dying to find out, where does Mark Mckinnon eat so they can possibly eat the same thing and make their own game.
I have no idea what it was that night, but something happened. That's the only thing I can put it down to.
Well, yeah, you blamed it on what you eat. So what do you eat that would cause this phenomenon?
Well, we have a thing over here that probably sounds quite disgusting to you, but we have a Scottish delicacy called pizza crunch, which is a deep fried battered pizza. And
Cool.
it sounds horrible, but it's delicious. If you're ever over here, I recommend you try it.
So what is it exactly? It's just like the just the dough of the pizza, or is it actually the pizza stuff in it and inside the dough, and then they fry it, or how's that work?
So it's literally just half a pizza that you'd get from the supermarket, um, dipped in the batter that you'd get for fish and all that kind of stuff, and then
Okay,
dropped in the deep fat fryer. So it
cool. I
comes out.
love pizza. It sounds good to me, but I'm told I eat some pretty crazy things.
Definitely worth a try. You should see if anyone up there does it.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. If yeah, so that's awesome. So that's what he eats, and that's how he was able to come up with this. So that's maybe that's why if you're listening right now, I guess there's like 52% because the UK just stole one of the percentage from the US. So if you're listening right now and you haven't created a game but you want to, or even if you don't want to, it sounds like go and try some of this. I guess if you're over there in Scotland or whatnot, is that correct? That's where you're at, isn't it?
Yeah. So just outside Glasgow, I am. So
Cool. So yeah, make sure you try that. Go to your local grocery store, buy a frozen pizza, and I guess deep fry it.
batter it and deep fat fry it.
Oh, so you put. So what's that mean? Like you make a different batter and put it around it?
Yeah. So you dip it in a kind of, like you said, a kind of doughy batter, um, and then you fry it.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, do that, and then you'll be making great games like Mark McKinnon is, or maybe you'll just have tried something that you don't like. It sounds like some people might be disgusted by it, but it sounds really good to me here on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. So I don't know if you remember from last time when we tried to have you on the show, but the next section of our podcast is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an application that you're using, whether it be for board games or for anything else. Is there an application that you use a lot of?
So on my Kickstarter page and on my Facebook page, I have a couple of videos that I've created, and I created them using an app on my tablet called Kinemaster. So yeah, it's kind of I'd never really tried any kind of video editing before, and it was quite simple to use, and it's quite powerful in what it's capable of doing. So yeah, I would recommend that for anyone who wants to kind of put together a kind of, I wouldn't say it's the most high tech video that's ever been made, but I was quite surprised at what I was able to do with it, and with no knowledge, I was quite surprised at my own results. So definitely worth having a look at.
Cool. Did you call it Kinemaster? What did you call it?
Kinemaster, yeah, it's Kine Master, all one word.
Okay, I thought that you were gonna say you liked it because it's almost like McKinnon.
Yeah, but maybe there's kind of some subliminal kind of on some subconscious level. Maybe that's why I like it as well.
There you go. There you go. Cool. So if you own the rights to that, Mark, what would be one thing you would do to make that a better application?
The only issue that I have with the application is that because it's for tablets and stuff like that, it's all driven by, it's controlled by your fingers, and what I found was that there's when I'm trying to size all my cards and stuff like that to show on the video, trying to get them all the same size is a nightmare because there's nowhere that I can just type in a size or even set up any kind of lock guide so that they're all the same. You basically just have to kind of eye it in and then hope that they're similar. And yeah, I have the situation where I've got two cards which are a millimeter difference, and see trying to get that extra millimeter so that they look the same. You're kind of hovering over this kind of corner button, and you're trying to kind of twitch your finger just enough that it increases the size that little bit. So yeah, I would add some kind of lock guides and some kind of way of resizing through, just through a little box that I can type in. It'd make my life so much easier.
Well, there you go. You heard how to make Mark McKinnon's life easier. If you're listening, whoever created that app, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief.
I feel like I'm giving away a lot of trade secrets here.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, so hopefully you're listening to this episode because yeah, this is the first time you've heard it, and yeah, so hopefully, whether you want to get an awesome board game with vehicle minis, I haven't heard too many of those, or you want to just find out the trade secrets behind who the real Mark Mckinnon is and how he came up with the game, what he eats, what he does to create the videos on Kickstarter, you've made it to the right podcast.
Definitely, yeah. This is a place to be.
There you go. It sounds like it. You have to get more of your friends, and we'll go up from 3% to 4% after we release this episode. So that'd be kind of exciting, or maybe even more. We got the famous Mark Mckinnon on tonight.
Mark Mckinnon of Wreck and Ruin fame is my official title over here.
There you go. See, so yeah, see, he's famous over there. So maybe getting geeky with Game Relief will be famous after that.
Only two people call me it though, so
Oh well, that's probably the two that listen to my podcast. So
yeah,
we got to reach out a little bit.
yeah. Come on, guys, get your finger out and get listening.
There you go. There you go. So that'd be good. So yeah, if per se somebody's been per se somebody had their fingers in their ears this whole time, it wouldn't be because of it wouldn't be because of you or your game or your accent, but say they fell asleep or something because of my voice and they suddenly woken up. Why should they go on the Kickstarters and back Wreck and Ruin?
This is my first project, and I think for a first project it's quite ambitious, but it has a lot in the game. You know, it's got the awesome minis, it's got the replayability, it's got the scalability, it's got the option to basically do whatever you want. I give you the tools to make a map, but after that you can create your own map, your own scenario. You know, I've stuck to a kind of basic hex shape for the rules, but you know, you can make one long road. You can do anything with it. You can take out the middle tile and make that a giant pit of despair for all you want. So yeah, you know, if you want a game that caters to a bit of tactics, a bit of kind of doing over your friends, a bit of just having some awesome, like you said, there's not a lot of vehicle miniatures out there, and having some awesome minis to ram into your friends is quite nice, especially when you put those flames on them. It's quite satisfying. And you can just rub your hands together and say, you know, this, you know, I'm the king of the wasteland here, so come at me.
There you go. There you go. I really like it. It's a post-apocalyptic vehicle violence for 2 to 4 players.
Yes, so get on there and get backing. That's what I'm going to say.
There you go. Get on there and get backing. And yeah, if you want to, go ahead and rewind or download this for later and listen to it again. You'll be able to get all of Mark's trade secrets on how he created this and what he does in everyday life to make great games. I know this is his first one, but looking at the Kickstarters, it looks like a great game. So minus coming over there and tracking you down and stalking you in your hometown and coming to hopefully eat some of that great delicious doughed pizza with you, how would somebody go about finding you, Mark?
So the best place to find me is on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, and it's at Wreck and Ruin Game. So yeah, if you want to come and chat to me, then that's the best place to talk to me. But I'm also on Twitter, at Wreck_and_Ruin. And then I've got my own website as well, which is www.wreckandruingame.co.uk. So pretty much anywhere that you search Wreck and Ruin, you either find me or some artist that's made an album called the same thing. But it's pretty obvious which one's which. So
Well, there you go. Do they sing about vehicle violence?
I don't think so, no. I think that's only my disturbed mind that comes up with that. But I definitely need to have a listen to it, because there might be some kind of collaboration in the works in the future. If they do, it'd be quite nice if they tied in like that.
Well, there you go. You heard it here first before they come out with the album the next album of Wreck and Ruin to go along with Mark McKinnon's game. You heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Yeah, well, we wanted to thank you for coming on the show tonight or this morning, depending on where you're listening and when you're listening. But thanks again, Mark.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It's been great.
No problem. You have a great night, or well, I guess a great day because you're over there. Make sure you eat some more pizza so we can see some other great game. Well, not pizza. I forget what did you call them? Pizza Crunch or
Pizza Crunch, yeah.
yeah, Pizza Crunch. Make sure you eat some more so when we after we get this game, we can get another one. So we're sorry, I forgot to ask. So when people back this game, I know you don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, but when might they expect to get their games?
So the campaign's going to run for the whole of October. The aim is to get it to backers by August of next year, and I think that's basically I've given myself a bit of extra time just in case anything comes up. I expect to deliver long before then. All the files are ready. It's just a case of getting it to the manufacturer and getting it into the queue. So yeah, I'm saying August just now, but I'm hoping that people have it months before that.
Okay, cool. And I don't know if you've eaten anything recently, but should we expect anything after this game funds and gets out to our backers? Should we expect anything else coming from you?
Well, I've just kind of scratched the surface on Wreck and Ruin itself, so there's still plenty of stuff I want to do with that. But I do have ideas. I've not really fleshed out much else, but I'm thinking of some kind of legacy game without the permanence is what I'm kind of trying to wrap my head around just now. So that's something for the future, but that'll be a big project. So
Okay,
trying to work out how I'm going to do it. But
cool. We'll have to keep our eyes on that.
yeah, I'm excited about it.
Keep our eyes out for that.
Yeah, so maybe post-apocalyptic still. I'm not quite sure. I do like the theme.
Yeah, it looks like a pretty good theme.
But yeah, some kind of fighting fantasy book on a board game is kind of what I would like to do. You know, more like a kind of computer game, where you have decisions which affect what you're going to do in the future, but you can always just start the game again and reset all the stuff. You know, no stickers, no tearing up cards. I think that would break my heart if I was to do that to a game. So
Yeah, my wife would call that sacrilege.
yeah, so definitely don't want to be going down that route. So if I can do some kind of legacy system that still allows you to put the game back to its original state, that would be great.
Well, there you go. You heard another one of, what do they call you? The famous Wreck and Ruin Mark Mckinnon?
Mark Mckinnon of Wreck and Ruin fame.
There you go. So you heard another one of Mark McKinnon of Wreck and Ruin fame's trade secrets.
Yep, I'm giving out. I need to stop talking. I'm giving away too much now.
Yeah, I better let you go before you give out all your secrets.
Yeah, do you want the PIN code to my bank while I'm here, or?
Yeah, you better give us that and as well. So when that Kickstarter money hits the bank, we'll be able to. Well, no, we don't want to do that because then nobody will get their cool games.
Yeah, so I'll maybe do that from
So
there.
you better not give us that. We better let you go before you do give that out accidentally.
Definitely.
Well, thanks for coming on again, Mark. We appreciate it.
That's great. Thanks a lot for having me. It's nice to speak to people over that side. So yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.